Hello, you all. This is Darryl Jr. Good to be with you. This is my Realizing the Shape show, Realizing the Shape. Thought about changing the name, but already have several of them, and the fact is there's still people, even though there's a small number of them on the earth that hasn't realized the shape of the earth, so still seems like a fitting name. If you haven't noticed, I posted a video earlier talking to a flat earth Discord server about the ISS. So I found it interesting. Uh, Pointed out a few things, was called a few things, or described it in a few ways. It was interesting. Be sure to check it out. I made one short of the debate. I'm thinking about making another one, but it was a shorter one. So I'm sure I'll be back and speak with them again. That sort of took the place of me continuing to reviewing another hour of the debate with Fight the Deception. So I end up continuing that another time. Uh, Something else that happened this week is the Veritas documentary that I have showing on the screen right there. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely awesome. I've seen it once already throughout the week, watching it a little bit each day, and thought it was awesome. I plan on watching it again. So I figured I would watch it again and do a sort of review as we go along, watching a little bit every so often. Uh, I'm not sure how often through the week I will review it. It'll probably be just like on Saturday. Maybe I'll make new flat Earth related content on Saturday. Actually started working on a linear algebra sort of video for one of my other channels, but I'm still getting used to the program. It didn't come out too well. And what I may do is just start on the GED as I intended, which would be a lot easier for me to put out. Uh, I'm familiar with doing like study groups and things for things I'm learning at the time because I often do study groups for my peers in my class. But at the moment, I might just go to the GED and work up from there as far as what math content I put out and science content. So look for that if you're looking for a GED. And if you're a flat earther, by the way, um, a lot of the GED science and math would be helpful in helping you understand why the Earth is a globe. But on to the documentary. So it's an awesome documentary put out by Veritas. What I plan on doing is just playing some of it, doing a little bit of a commentary on a bit of it, and just working through it like that until I get through the full uh, uh, documentary. I have my chat up here. So if you're watching live and you want to say something, put it in the chat. Watch the comments on this video and all my other videos afterwards. So uh, make sure you check out the comments. Um, Another thing as well, uh, I will probably put out a Zoom link eventually for people who want to join. So I can even do that now. If somebody's here in the chat and you want to join and talk about the video, just let me know. I can open up the Zoom and we could talk about it there as well. I could even just stream the video through the Zoom and share it through Zoom. We could work it out. But I know it looks like there's only one watcher now, so we'll see how it goes. I don't expect a lot of people at the moment. But maybe after we get to like the second or third part, people will be interested. So I'll go ahead and start playing this. And I think my audio is looking well, so let's see how it goes.
Space is fake. There's a fake sun. This is about one thing. They're taking $65 million a day from you. They're hiding the fact that there is a creator. They're hiding the fact by making fun of me.
By the way, just in case, I don't imagine uh there's a new person to the stuff that people believe in flat Earth. They're already here watching. But just in case, they showed a bit earlier this person pouring water on the ball. The flat earthers actually believe that that if the earth was really a globe and gravity really worked, you should be able to pour water on the top of this basketball and it should stick to the ball like the oceans. So, you know, he's actually showing flat earth videos when he's giving the montages, which I thought was is very pointed because you actually hear and see them speaking in their own words, and there's no way for them to say you misquoted them. It brings to mind this lady who wrote this flat Earth book, whose name of the book doesn't come to mind, but she was on MC Toon's channel, and what she said was after she published the book, and I guess maybe the flat earthers was able to, see how the majority of people thought what they were saying was pretty stupid, which much of it was. At least one of them came back and accused her of not quoting them properly and having them in the book saying stuff they didn't say. But she had the videos and audio recordings, and of course, they agreed to be recorded and so forth. And she was able to go to the recordings and confirm that they were quoted exactly. So the good thing about this is she's doing that straight up, just showing them saying what they're saying. And that's what they said and the examples they're putting on. So I think it's pretty pointed where we were.
The world ocean, think of it as a giant lake with all of the continents. What's beyond it? I don't know. What if we lived here? What if this is where we lived? Right there. These are other ponds with their own suns. This makes sense.
That was DITRH, by the way. I spoke with him once. If you search the channel, you'll be able to see the video where I spoke with him and Hori Sheet. So, um, you know, it's more content along the lines of what Veritas is showing, but none of my content made it into his video, so it'll give you a slightly different perspective.
Thank you for confronting NASA, which everybody knows actually means not always telling truths. My question for you is,
The James Webb Space Telescope is a fake sun. The true sun went out. That's what coronavirus was about, guys. You think I'm joking?
How many people do you reckon are infected with parasitic worms on this earth?
So what I do is I triangulate everything in the center. We're not going to be able to get to the Garden of Eden according to the biblical model because there's an angel forming a reset line. The only thing you need for this model to work is 3 extra dimensions.
So when you hop in an airplane, you're actually hopping in a spacecraft.
And I've gotten death threats. I run up on gang members. I run up on people getting high in alleys, bro. And as you guys can see,
and
I stay barefoot. My feet are dirty like this earth, bro. I walk in stores barefoot with no mask on, and I just let these managers come up and say something.
Jeez.
I'm just saying I go barefoot everywhere to let this dirty electricity get out of me, bro.
So what is a quasar?
Well, you say it's like a really hot mass of just like a galaxy being formed, right? Just a hot mess. I say that it's a whole bunch of volcanoes.
Is when I was in there.
If you didn't notice, by the
Hot
way,
mass of just like a galaxy.
but he has a quote from space.com. Quasars are the blazing centers of active galaxies and are powered by a supermassive black hole feeding on of gas. It reminds me of I took a galaxies and cosmology class in the spring. I'm a double physics and astronomy major. I'm a senior right now, for those who didn't know. And it's pretty interesting stuff. We were able to see some of the telescopic data and images that they gathered from these black holes that are swallowing up all of this gas and emitting all of this energy. And the detailed observations that we have, and some of the jets that these things shoot out, like they can shoot jets out that are extremely long and energetic is pretty amazing. And one detail is that there was a period of time when scientists thought that there were different types of quasars, because some of them we would see a jet, and some of them would have just a lot of noise, and you could look up the actual details. But suffice it to say, there's some variations, and to the point that we thought that there were different types of quasars. But what we eventually found was that different quasars, if they're angled in a certain way, we can perceive all these certain aspects of it. And depending on the environment, like some of them, the environment is such where we can't see the jet, and it seems like it's just emitting noise. And some of them might be turned in such a way to where we see this side or aspect of the quasar. But someone came along and observed enough of them where we can see. I guess it reminds me of that old saying where there's like an elephant, and one man touches the ear and thinks this is the elephant, and one man touches the side and thinks it's like a wall, and one touches the tail and thinks it's like a rope. And it took somebody to put all of that together and realize that an elephant has an ear and a body and a tail and feet, and that's all parts of the elephant. So ironically, a similar thing happened with quasars, and now developing a sort of integrated model where we take into account all the different aspects of a quasar and how they all interact and relate, and how we see only certain aspects depending on the orientation that it has to us, because of course we can only perceive the light and energy that's coming in our direction. So it makes as I start to get into more advanced astronomy courses, it's interesting how intricate and detailed astronomy and astrophysics is. It's not just pointing a telescope and seeing something. I mean, it's dust and gas in a way we have to account for. It's the angle that we're looking at, how it's facing. It starts to get pretty intricate. And still, I'm only at like the middle undergraduate level, so can't imagine the detail and intricacy that goes into all of these discoveries and findings and observations that flat earthers just find it in themselves to just blanket dismiss. It's amazing the more I learn. Great, I'll keep it going.
Galaxy being formed, right? Just a hot mess. I say that it's a whole bunch of volcanoes.
Because when I was in the airplane, I think anybody that have to look at it can do when they look at an airplane, 35,000 feet. It's just like a horizon line, and it looks like a flat ironing board.
Did you measure it?
Somebody's going to assault me one of these days, and I'm going to spill blood for this. I was lost until I found flat Earth. I'm a born-again flat earther, bro. I'll die for this, bro. I love flat Earth.
Factor provides balanced eating made simple.
They provide a new menu every week with delicious nutrition.
About 4 years ago, I stumbled across something that changed my life, and others around me too. I discovered the flat Earth.
Now, I don't quite remember when or exactly how, but at some point recently I got sucked into the, let's just say, fascinating world of those that believe the Earth is flat, and the debates that take place between them and those who attempt to defend the generally accepted scientific model. It's harder than you'd think attempting to describe exactly why I personally find this discourse appealing.
Just stop being a condescending prick, all right? Try.
Why don't you stop condescending to the entire human race and pretending that every scientist ever is a liar and satanic deceiver? That's much more offensive than me calling you stupid, which you are.
Dave, what is the sun?
I've come to discover that there's quite a lot you can learn about somebody by how they react when you just so happen to let it slip that you have a morbid fascination with spending some amount of your free time watching two adults argue with each other publicly on the internet about the shape of the Earth.
What's that?
Where's your camera, dude?
My camera, dude? My camera's right there. I'm getting ready to hit a bong.
You don't want to show a bong hit on camera? Okay, weird.
No, I don't want you to see it. I usually hit it on bong, but I was worried about you rebroadcasting. I was being courteous to you, but if you don't mind, I don't mind.
No, I really don't give a shit. Anyway,
all right, cool.
Now, there's something about this particular topic that triggers a kind of fight or flight response in everybody involved in the conversation, including myself. There's always an immediate momentary tension that can really only be resolved by addressing the painfully obvious elephant in the room. What shape do I think the Earth is? Now, at this point, I feel compelled, as if at gunpoint, to preemptively reassure them that, don't worry, I believe that the Earth is, in fact, not flat. Now, almost without fail, the response that I get comes in question form, and generally falls into one of 4 major categories. And I've come to discover that you can learn quite a lot about somebody from which of the 4 you get. The first response is one of curiosity. So wait a minute, do they think you'll just fall off the edge of the Earth? What do they think about the moon and the other planets? Are those flat too? Do any of these people debating ever have their minds changed? If this is some kind of massive cover-up, what's the point? Why would anybody need to lie about the shape of the Earth? Now, the second kind of response I get is cynicism. These people are, at best, uneducated and closed-minded, and at worst, mentally ill. Why give them any attention or platform their paranoid delusions? Listening to these debates would infuriate me. None of these people are interested in rational discussion. I feel my IQ dropping 10 points every time they speak. No thanks. The third kind of response I get is that of skepticism. Wait, there can't really be people that actually believe the Earth is flat. I thought this was all a meme. No mature, educated adult in 2024 could possibly be this ignorant. None of these people actually believe this stuff. They're just desperate for attention and want to be contrarian. Are you sure they're not just trolling? And the fourth and final kind of response.
By the way, I first learned about the fact that people believe the Earth is flat from somebody I personally knew and still know who believed the Earth is flat. And at the time, I had that same response of people can't really believe this. I ran into it before somewhere before I knew he believed it before he sort of came out as a believer of flat Earth. Uh, and I didn't really pay it any mind before then because I was like, people can't really believe this. This can't really be true. But I had no reason to believe that he was lying to me or trying to scam anybody by pretending to believe the Earth is flat. He really believed it. So that's when I was initiated into the understanding that people really believe uh, that the Earth is flat. So it's interesting.
Is, well,
You ever seen the Earth curving? Me neither. You know why? It's because the Earth is flat and it doesn't spin.
Hi, we're Visible. We're the wireless company with nothing to hide. Seriously, hidden fees?
Now this video is my attempt at answering the questions at the core of each response. Are flat earthers actually real? What exactly is it that they believe? How is it that somebody can actually come to believe that the Earth is flat? Should we be engaging with flat earthers? And if so, how and why? Why does any of this matter? Why should we care? And exactly how much am I being paid by NASA to perpetuate the lie? In order to begin to understand what it is that flat earthers actually believe, I think it's important to put into perspective just how significant this one seemingly trivial idea actually is.
I thought this illustration was pretty funny, by the way.
Exactly how much am I being paid by NASA to perpetuate the lie?
So like the meteor hits the planet, but it's flat, so it just tilts it over and knocks the dinosaurs up in the. When I first saw that, I was laughing so hard, and uh, and then of course, maybe not of course, but it made me think, well, what happens to the ones on this side? So the ones over here, they got flung out, right? Because it's like it tilted that way. But what about well, maybe they got burnt out. The one that was right here, maybe they got burnt away or something. I don't know. I think it was pretty amusing though.
Important to put into perspective just how significant this one seemingly trivial idea actually is. To get into their heads, to understand their worldview on a more fundamental level, we first need to realize that it's dominated less by all of the things that they believe to be true, and instead, more by what it is that they believe to be untrue. A worldview seemingly dominated by rejection. Now, it goes without saying that flat earthers don't believe that the Earth is the shape that we've been taught our whole lives, an oblate spheroid. And we'll, of course, be getting to that a little bit later. But first, what's fascinating is how the rejection of a singular element of the currently accepted model of our universe kicks off a sort of butterfly effect. An irreversible cascade of credulity that causes one to call into question literally everything else that we understand. If the Earth is flat, then what about the other planets? Are they flat too? Why would the Earth be the only round one? Now, if the other planets aren't spherical, then why is it that they look like they are? What even are they? And what about their moons? What about our moon? What about our sun? What even is our sun? If you think about it, it does look quite a lot different than the other lights in the sky. And what are those, anyway? How do we even know that the lights in the sky are actual physical objects out in space somewhere? Maybe they're just lights. And come to think of it, if our moon isn't round, then what the hell was the moon landing? All of that NASA footage? That would all be bullshit, right? If that was fake, then why?
Pretty sure he got those questions, by the way, from actual claims that flat earthers make. I've run into flat earth. When you talk about stars, they just say they're lights in the sky. We can't know anything more about them than lights in the sky. Suspect this because they know that the evidence, they can't refute it. Like if you actually, well, seems a lot of them don't even know about spectroscopy, or they just dismiss it because probably because the evidence of spectroscopy, if you're not aware, that spectroscopy is basically being able to study the light that's coming from a light source and being able to disperse it into its parts, and you can actually see what elements are coming from the light. Now, interestingly enough, flat earthers say that repeatedly. I got told that today. If you look at the sort of debate or discussion that I mentioned earlier, when I was talking to the flat earthers about ISS, one of the things they told me was you just believe what whoever tells you, they. And but the interesting thing about it is, as I progressed through my physics and astronomy degree, you can't get through a degree. I know this from my experience. I've seen FTFE, Fight the Flat Earth, talk about it. The fact that you can't get through a degree, even a bachelor's degree, without personally, directly experimenting with and exploring these things. So, for instance, in my um, waves class, mechanical waves, and we talked a little bit about quantum waves, I believe, but it's mostly like mechanical waves, light waves, and things like that. For the laboratory for that class, what we had to do was they had these lamps, and these lamps had different gases in them. They didn't, we knew that it had to be something like hydrogen, nitrogen, helium, neon, things like that. But we didn't know which lamp had what. And the TA, the teacher's assistant, knew. And basically, each lamp had numbers on them. And I believe the numbers were even swapped each semester. I don't remember that exactly, but I believe they were. But suffice it to say, the TA knew which lamp had which because he had the number coding, but we didn't know. So what we had to do was we had to get the lamp, and we had to, when you turn the lamp on and the energy hits the lamp, it excites the atoms and molecules in the lamp. And once it gets fully excited, it turns a certain color because what happens is when you have an atom and a photon of the proper energy hits it, it causes the electron in that atom to be excited. And then when the electron loses energy and goes back down the energy state, it emits light. And the thing about it is, each different level emits a certain frequency of light, and each different element has certain levels that emits certain types of light. So that means a hydrogen atom will emit a certain frequency of light, and the nitrogen atom will emit a certain frequency of light. And this has been studied to the extent that there's entire tables that shows, okay, in a hydrogen atom will emit this frequency of light when the electron goes from this level to this level, and this frequency of light when it goes from this level to this level, and nitrogen will emit this frequency of light from this level to this level, and so on and so forth. So what we had to do was we had to get our lamp, pick a lamp, we had to turn it on, and we had to use this device, this spectrometer. I believe I pronounced it correctly. And it looks sort of like a microscope with two ends. And we put the lamp over here, and it was something called a collimator that took the light and channeled it into a diffraction gradient. And the diffraction gradient in the middle of this thing split the light apart. And then it came through to the sort of microscope end, and you could actually zoom in and see how the light was broken up into spectra. And you can use basically Snell's law, basically a variation of it, and you can calculate how far different orders of wavelength will diffract. And you could actually look at the different lines and calculate which line it was. And from that, you can calculate what element it was. And I did that calculation, and I was able to establish which element I had to within like a few nanometers of the actual official value. And there was another group of people, and you have to imagine that every single semester, classes of students do this. So when we're talking about that we see like stars, we can point these devices at stars and capture the light that's coming from stars, diffract that light, that there's the elements and stars that we say are there because we know from the laboratory that certain frequencies of light will come from certain elements. And, of course, we study the sun and different stars and we put it all together. But you can uh, look at, get an astronomy book or something to get details on that. But suffice it to say that when the flat earther says, "Oh, they're just lights," that's such an ignorant and misinformed statement to anybody, definitely who has a undergraduate degree in physics or astronomy. But definitely when you're talking about the astronomy, field, actual PhD astronomers who, like I said, as I get into more and more advanced uh, courses, I see that the level of depth gets increasingly more sophisticated and in depth. And there's no way that any body or group can fool just the average astronomer or physicist, from my experience. Not to mention people who are like the best of the best, like Einstein or Carl Sagan. These people couldn't be fooled by some kind of conspiracy because they know this stuff. They able to, they make the devices. They develop the equations. Uh, they study the stars themselves. It shows the ignorance of these people to have the beliefs that they have. All right, let's keep it rocking.
What even is our sun? In space, what the hell was the moon landing? All of that NASA footage? That would all be bullshit, right? If that was fake, then why the hell should we believe anything else they've told us? All of the rockets, space stations, telescopes, satellites, probes, rovers, it's literally all lies. We never landed on Mars. All those images from the Hubble and the James Webb are all fake. And of course, the International Space Station isn't real, which means that everybody in it is lying as well. Why would they go through all of that trouble? What are they hiding? And if they lied to us about all that, hell, doesn't that mean that they're willing and capable of lying about just about everything?
And who exactly is they, anyway?
Then how do I know this? I don't know. How do I know this? I know that everything is a fucking lie. That's how I know it.
I've been trying to figure out how to, because I have no proof, no evidence, nothing. I have shit. You just have to take my word for it. I'm a little confused. Okay.
That
All right.
pretty interesting. Let's watch that one more time.
It's a fucking lie. That's how I know it.
You know, I've been trying to figure out how to, because I have no proof, no evidence, nothing. I have shit. You just have to take my word for it. I'm a little.
I find this to be quite interesting, and it actually relates to the discussion I had earlier. If you check the video about the uh that I did on the Discord. Oh, and I see Blue is here. What's going on, Blue? Blue says in the chat the flat earthers can't understand basic Newtonian mechanics. No wonder they have an issue with spectroscopy. Very good point. But it made me think how the fact is that makes me think about all this magnetic stuff. I mean, Lottie is saying that Newton's laws don't work, and there's so much behind that, Blue, because on the one hand, they don't understand it. On the second hand, they claim to understand it so well, Newtonian mechanics, that they know it's not Newtonian mechanics anymore. It's relativity, right? But you and I know that relativity is simply a more general or more all-encompassing way of calculating similar things. Newtonian mechanics is sort of a more specialized version of calculating acceleration that's particular to non-relativistic, very, very low speeds, small things, not like black holes and things like that. But they conflate all of that. And so, yeah, I really think they don't even want to know. Exactly. There you go. And me and Blue was thinking the same thing. He typed it. I'm pretty sure I'm on a brief delay. But yeah, an interesting thing, by the way, Blue. Um, After I started talking to these flat earthers and engaging in debates and things like that, what I would do when I got to class, physics classes, I would I don't think I asked an astronomer this because we always like talking about stars and stuff, but like for instance, my classical mechanics class, I asked the professor, you know, what would you say to people who say that Newtonian mechanics is over and done, is relativity, it doesn't work anymore, it's bad, however I wrote it. I also asked I believe my modern physics professor and my first quantum mechanics professor, I'll be taking that one again. My first quantum mechanics professor, it was just part of his class where he spoke about how we're going from a classical view to a quantum view, similar to how we went from a Newtonian view to a relativistic view. And relativity is basically an overarching set that contains Newtonian mechanics. Well, when I talked to these professors, they said the same thing. My classical mechanics professor was saying, no, Newtonian is great. And of course, in the very textbook itself, we clearly went through the Newtonian mechanics to, for instance, calculate how the tides work. And we had to go to F big G M M over R squared, and F equals ma was all through it. There was the whole chapter 5 about gravitation. So these people is crazy how wrong they are. And Blue says, I'm sure you got some laughs out of that question. It's hilarious all the way through, man. It's amazing. Um, it's amazing. But sometimes I wonder why I find it so interesting. I think it's just the psychology of it. There was a period of time when I was going to minor or double major in psychology, but it's a different story, whole different story why I decided not to. But I still have an interest in psychology, so I think that's why. But and sometimes it's not even amusing view. Sometimes it's just sad. It's just sad. Like I spoke to the person earlier, and he seemed pretty sincere, but he kept saying, "Oh, the ISS can be a balloon," and I had already pointed out that, you know, it goes around every 90 minutes. I pointed out the fact that I saw this myself through my own telescope. I was able to see it close enough to see the solar panels. It's not aerodynamic. How can it possibly go around the circumference of the Earth. Whether even if you're saying it's a flat Earth and it's zooming around the top, how can it possibly go that fast and not burn up and not have any observable means of motion and lift? He just said the same thing again. It could be a balloon. It could be this. It works on both. So sometimes it's just sad, man. And they tell us we just believe, but it's like they on repeat and they imbibe this poor way of thinking and in this circle of thinking that makes them impervious to reasoning and evidence. Sometimes it's just sad. Sometimes it is funny. Sometimes it's just sad. Let's see what we have next.
Confused. Okay. All right. It says that it's refracting and
And you
reflecting
mentioned
off of.
not the flat Earth question, but the professor question. Actually, professor, when I asked the professors about Newtonian mechanics, I mean, I really wanted to know their perspective. It didn't come across by the professors as silly or anything, or even the class. People were actually pretty interested in attentive. My 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 classical mechanics professor, when I asked him that, and of course, apparently that's what he teaches. It seems like some professors, every year they teach quantum, or every year they teach whatever. He was really passionate. That's because quantum classical dynamics is his thing. And I was actually really impressed with his answer because he didn't see the answer. He didn't see the question as a joke. He sort of went in depth about the differences and how Newton got to what he understood. I'm unable to quote you what he said at the moment, but it was actually quite edifying. And to hear how they describe the efficacy of Newtonian and the great contribution he made to science. I didn't get a laugh from the professors. I got very solid answers that solidify the respect is a good word that they have for Newton and the contribution he made. Matter of fact, um, just yesterday, because now I'm taking a modern physics lab, and I was talking to my modern physics professor, and I wasn't even thinking about flat Earth. I just asked him. I went to a colloquium in the spring, and one of the colloquiums was about dark matter and dark energy. And you may know, Blue, I actually gave a few talks on dark matter and dark energy, so that's why I was interested. I went to the colloquium, and one part of the talk, the guy talked about the people who want to talk about. I forgot the exact word, but it's something like altered Newtonian mechanics, where they want to alter Newtonian mechanics to account for dark matter rather than accepting that there's actually something there that's causing that gravitational pull. And I asked them, you know, what do they say about, like, for instance, the bullet cluster and all of this evidence? And he gave a good explanation as well about Newton and just how formidable it was. So it's amazing that the flat earthers can tell themselves that there's some kind of discrepancy. The only thing I saw that speaks to the idea of a discrepancy is there was this one quote that they used to pull out where the person said that relativity superseded Newtonian, if I remember right. But I found the document, and you look at the actual document, like a sentence or two later, it says, but we can't discount the monumental worth of Newtonian mechanics and how it relates. So even in the same document, a few sentences later, it makes it clear that supersede didn't mean it overrode it or is not longer valid. It just means, like all the other ones say more directly, that it's more overarching. And I think people just found the actual document and stopped paying attention to that, and in that way, and they stopped saying it. And Blue says Einstein himself said the great works of Newton will never be superseded by GR or any other theory. Awesome. So, but you know how it is, Blue. They want to accept one quote even from the same document, but will ignore the quote a few sentences later, just like how they pull out, Neil deGrasse Tyson made that video about Eratosthenes and said how two Wells' work on the flat Earth, and flat earthers will harp on that, but literally like 30 seconds later, he shows an image with three wheels and said, but three will never work on the flat Earth. But of course, they ignore that. It's par for the course for the flat earthers. Thanks for sharing, Blue. It's amazing that Einstein was so smart and so important. I want to find a better word, but important is the one that comes to mind. So important to physics that even his letters to people are like almost like papers. It's quite interesting. I'll play a little bit more, and I'll stop at probably the top of the hour. So I'll give it about 15 more minutes. I'll play a little bit more.
Some bullshit nonsense. It's absolute bullshit what you're seeing on fucking Google. When you have kids, are you going to tell them that we actually landed on the moon? Because this is all bullshit. They're just going to continue doing nonsense to make you think you still live on a spinning wet ball.
And that's a scary thing, man. The people that have kids and who are, ironically, they call, you know, NASA indoctrinating with the little kid that the earth is flat and have them growing up thinking that, man, that's sad.
You will never, ever, ever see anybody on the moon except nonsense like this. And that's my case in point to you. When the fuck are you people gonna wake up? When? I had one woman come up to me the other day. She said, my whole family has had COVID. Really? Really? I'd love to see the paperwork. Are they dead? No, they're all still alive. It was a common cold. It's like, oh, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Thanks for interacting, Blue. Blue said that theory you're talking about is called, that's right, modified Newtonian dynamics. And it was proposed in the 80s. Interestingly enough, Blue, this guy, if I remember right, he was a what do you call it? A postdoc. So he's a PhD, but he's a new PhD. Pretty sure he was a postdoc. Sure he wasn't a PhD student. So if I remember right, he was a postdoc, and the focus of his research was like dark matter and stuff like that. And the way he was talking, there's people that's still working on it, interestingly enough. But you know, the talk that I gave on MC Toon's channel about dark matter and dark energy, I actually gave that talk at a college that's about 4 hours from where I live, a small community college. I went there and I gave that talk. And you know, the talk I spoke about dark matter and dark energy, and I mentioned that WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles, are one of the possibilities that some scientists are looking into as dark matter particles. And this guy in the audience who identified himself as a graduate student, I think rather rudely, in the question and answer section said, they're not looking at WIMPs anymore. People don't believe that's the thing anymore. And he just kind of went off for a minute or two about how they're not WIMPs. Now, if you saw that talk, every single thing I said was referenced to either a scientific paper or, in that case, the PhD scientist who's on or leading a team that's looking into WIMPs actually came to UT Austin and gave a colloquium on that. So I was actually quoting her and the work she was planning on doing, but still, this guy was in the audience saying nobody's looking into WIMPs anymore. Now, no doubt, he spoke to some scientists who, or somebody who wrote a paper who said, WIMPs are not it. I have no doubt that he didn't just make it up, but it goes to show that there's still scientists who are still looking into various things that some people may have discounted. Because here I am quoting a scientist who literally came to, must have been about a month before I gave that talk. And she was talking about how the things they're going to do in the future to look into WIMPs. And this guy is saying, now they stopped looking into WIMPs a while ago. So it doesn't surprise me that there's perhaps the majority of scientists in the 80s dismissed WIMPs. Dismissed modified Newtonian dynamics, but still, there's a few straggling along that's still looking into it. It's pretty interesting. But, good thing about it is in science, anybody can look into what they want, but in the end, the evidence is going to determine what wins. And far as I can tell, the greatest evidence is the bullet cluster. The fact that the bulk of the matter in the form of the plasma is here, and the bulk of the gravitational lensing is over there around the actual stars, which has less overall mass than the plasma in the middle. Pretty definitive. So if anybody's curious about that, just check the channel. The talk I did on MC2's channel was linked. You can go ahead and see dark matter and dark energy from an undergraduate perspective. Because of course, I'm not an expert. I just reference everything to papers and talks that I saw with scientists, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Thanks for sharing again, Blue. I appreciate it.
See, they had to do this because of flat Earth. I mean, they had to do this, guys. And I'm sorry, but it's getting out there too fast. It's going from country to country to country, from person to person to person, and more of them are waking up. It's as simple as that. They've got to quiet us down.
It's amazing that they think that they're so, flat Earth is so whatever, that they have to do all these things to, even though I do disagree with apparently there is some kind of, like he mentioned in this video later, I do find it much harder to find flat Earth videos that I used to be able to find. Like when I'm just, some of you may know I'm working on a book to discuss flat earthers and their thinking. And I will try to find a video that I saw, and it's harder to find. I don't agree with that. But definitely they're not like doing some kind of uh, uh, COVID disease worldwide just to stifle flat earthers. I mean, I would need definitely more evidence than him just saying that. Put it that way. So, and Blue says that's very true. There are still people looking into Mon, and that's likely to continue, but the vast majority of physicists don't consider it very credible. Yeah, and I definitely don't. I mean, how can you possibly argue with the bullet cluster? Well, I guess you can. But to me, it seems pretty conclusive in my very modest undergraduate perspective. But, you know, in the end, I think we'll figure out because I had to do a lot of research because actually that talk was based upon two papers I wrote for my astrophysics class because I'm interested in dark matter and dark energy. So there's a lot more research and reading and stuff that I did then went into that talk. And it seems pretty definitive to me that dark matter is really there. Uh, Sometimes I think about expanding that paper with more stuff, and because of course there's more stuff that I found that actually went into the paper. So there's more stuff I found that went into the paper, and there's more stuff that went into the paper than went into the talk. Sometimes I think about expanding the paper and expanding the talk, and I may do that. Maybe I'll make like an hour-long dark matter talk and then an hour-long dark energy talk, but I'll see how it works.
Still asleep? Huh? Are you still asleep? Wake up!
You're expressing how so many of the things that they uh uh how do you say attribute to us can be applicable, and stuff like wake up, are you awake? And oh my gosh, when you see the web or dome of delusion to be a bit ironic that they're trapped in, it's pretty amazing. And I'll give it another 8 minutes.
You're going down.
About
Okay.
an hour long.
When the shit hits the fan, you guys are going down. People have woken up to the flat Earth. Enough of them have woken up to a point right now where it's a domino effect at this point right now. And it's...
Remember, this is the same guy that earlier we saw was saying that he has no evidence or anything. But people have woken up. It's amazing. I think they're afraid it will work. I remember I was talking to this one flat earther, and he was having a cordial conversation, and I brought up the fact that there's people who went to like the southern tip of Australia and Africa and South America, I believe. And they were all looking at the Southern Cross, which points to there being a South Pole. And I brought that to him, and he said he thinks the pictures and images are fake. Well, how do you know they're fake? I don't know. I mean, whatever. I said, well, how about going there yourself, and then you can see for because his perspective is about God. They're hiding the flat Earth because the Earth is flat and God made it, and they want to hide God from us. So, well, if it's that important, if you went there yourself and you saw it wasn't true and you got the evidence, bam, you've proved God. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. I believe there's a part of him who is really afraid that if he really went there, he would find that you can see the Southern Cross from all different places, and there is a South Pole, and he doesn't want to shake his belief. So it's ironic that he's saying people woke up when he also said that he doesn't have any evidence. So how did you possibly wake up with no evidence? What does it make it if you woke up based upon zero evidence? What does that make? What does it become? Abu says, poor Christ bless his heart. He's doing the very best he can. Unfortunately, his best isn't very good. And that's true. Which he admits, Blue. He himself earlier, we heard him say he doesn't have any evidence. You just have to take his word for it. But at the same time, the flat earth, what, programming tells him that he's woken up. It's amazing.
It's coming to an end soon.
And we all know this is all bullshit. So wake the fuck up. Wake up!
Well, seems like this is a nice transition place to pause it here. And what I'll do, I'll come back next Saturday. I'll either continue this or continue the review I did with Fight the Deception, or maybe I'll talk to the uh 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 Federal Discord again. But one or the other, I'll see if I can make a new video every Saturday. And like I said earlier to the flat earthers, anybody who's having problems with math or you want to get your GED, on my STEM channel, I'll start doing GED math, GED science. I won't do the GED social studies or whatever the other stuff is. You may have to go somewhere else for that. But as far as GED math, GED science, I'll start making some videos on that. And I tutor people on GED. And I got one of the GED books from one of my college access libraries, and we'll go through that, and that'll help any flat earther. By the way, the GED math, as I'm refreshing myself on it, seems like that level of math would be enough for you to calculate the things that you need to do to see that the Earth is a globe. So hopefully you enjoyed for watching. Thank you for watching, Blue. Thank you for commenting. Um, I'll be back doing something next Saturday. So, let me know if you want to hop on to Zoom. I can have a Zoom ready just in case. I'm fine having you just in the chat as well, whichever the case is. But just in case, I remember when I first did this in the past, people would jump on it, we would talk. So I'll have that in place again. And what I plan on doing this time is making staying consistent with it, so I could eventually build everything up, and we'll see how it is in like a year or something. But uh, we'll keep it going either way. So awesome! Thank y'all for watching. I didn't get too far, but hopefully in this video, but hopefully my anecdotes and addressing the chat works out and helps out and give you a different perspective. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, Blue. See y'all later.